Welcome back, guys, to another Forged from Iron episode, and today we're going to jump straight into a dreaded topic in the fitness industry: diet. We're going to start off with a little bit of a shocker. Cardio is not actually necessary to lose weight. This is based off the idea that you have a caloric intake revolving around maintenance calories. And basically what that is the amount of calories you burn in a day just simply by existing. This is best calculated using online calculators where you enter in a few measurements about your body composition, and then it spits out a number telling you how many calories you burn in a day at rest. With that information, you can take it, tailor it to yourself, try out that number the calculator gives you for a week or so, and then monitor your weight to see how much it changes. And then if you're able to stay at the same weight, you found your maintenance. From there, we're going to want to modify your caloric intake to suit the goals you're pursuing. Now, if this is muscle gain, then a caloric surplus might be what you're seeking because of the fact that it's impossible to gain muscle while depriving your body of calories, aka starving yourself, which is essentially what cutting is. It's starving yourself in a controlled manner so that you can progressively lose weight over time. The reason why it's so much more ideal to build muscle with a caloric surplus is the fact that your muscles are gonna need the nutrients from the extra calories that you're eating to support all the muscle growth that's occurring, and B, the extra calories are going to help you have enough energy for the gym to fuel your workouts because you're going to have to be training pretty hard. Now, this is extremely difficult to do in a caloric deficit where you're eating less than what you actually need just to maintain in the first place. So because of the fact that the idea of eating more to help muscle growth and eating less to lose weight are really contradictory in terms of their productivity towards your goal, you often see athletes focusing more on one of the two diets at a time because of the fact that you're going to be able to achieve more towards that one specific goal than more slowly obtained results while trying to do both at once. Now, it is most ideal to begin with a relatively minimal surplus of about 200 to 300 calories or so above your maintenance, and then track how your weight and body is reacting every week through the scale and the mirror. If you are responsively gaining muscle at that calorie intake, you can stick to it for as long as you can until you stop seeing results and then further increase calories. You should think of it as if milking the smaller surplus of calories while you can to minimize the amount of fat you put on because of the fact that you're eating more than what it takes to maintain, so that you gain as minimal fat as possible while maximizing your muscle growth. That way, you can avoid putting on the unnecessary portion of fat when it comes to bulking. Another thing to note is that fat gain is actually inevitable because of this nature. Now, this is an important thing to keep in your mind because of the fact that most people have a skewed idea that they can build an insane amount of muscle while shredding off all 20 pounds of their fat at the same time, which you might be able to do when you're an enhanced athlete, but if you're natural, chances are it's not likely to happen. So that brings us to cutting and decreasing your body fat in order to get a healthier body composition. This is often done after a bulking phase so that you've gained muscle, and then now your goal is to shred off the excess fat that you put on because of the fact that you were eating more than maintenance in order to gain that muscle. It can also be done, however, if you're already overweight and you want to start off with a solid foundation in order to build that muscle in the first place. Usually, in most cases though, I do recommend going through a slight leaner bulk phase at least, so that you can put on some degree of muscle that will show when you do eventually shred down. Now, this is literally the exact same process as bulking, except you flip the script and reverse it. So instead of adding these amount of calories, you want to take them out of your diet, so that puts you in a deficit where you're intaking less than what your body needs to maintain itself, ultimately causing you to lose overall mass and therefore fat in the long run. Again, this means eating at a minimal calorie deficit and milking it for as long as you can until your weight loss plateaus. This is to minimize the amount of, for example, muscle that you lose ultimately because of the fact that you're eating less calories to support that muscle. Therefore, if you go into a too big of a deficit too quickly, you could end up losing not just your fat, but other more favorable tissue as well. This is where cardio helps when it comes to cutting, because of the fact that it provides you a bit more leeway with 100 to up to 200-ish extra calories for you to play around with, so that you can A, get more food in, and B, still maintain that deficit or that degree of deficit while you're cutting, in order to not completely screw up your routine. Your other option, if not increasing the amount of cardio that you do, would be to slash your calories even more, meaning that you eat even less than you are on that part of the cut. So you really have to make a decision as to what you want to sacrifice, more food or increasing the amount of cardio that you do to burn more calories when your weight loss starts to plateau and you're not seeing the results at the same caloric deficit that you were. The last few bits of the cutting phase are extremely hard because you are at the all-time low of amount of calories that you are consuming throughout the day compared to your maintenance. So there's the biggest difference, which is of course going to be the hardest to sustain over time. Thus, it's best not to stay in this cutting phase for an extended period of time, as starving yourself in a controlled way, of course, is going to take a massive toll on your body, such as screwing up your hormones. Thus, after around 12 weeks, if your goal is to still lose more weight, it's highly recommended that you take a diet break where you return to your maintenance level of calories for a certain period of time, which is to replenish your body sort of out of that starvation mode, so that you feel satiated and full again and not depressed. And then you can further pursue your weight loss by going back into a deficit from there. Now, because of the fact that you will be at maintenance, you theoretically should not gain more weight that you have lost already. If you do, it's probably the fact that your body can now hold on to more water because of the fact that you're doing things such as eating more carbs again, that you were probably depriving yourself of because you had to cut it out of your diet to enter that deficit. It's sort of like refueling your body after forcing it to starve. However, when you do this, remember to know that your maintenance is most likely going to be lower than the maintenance that you were eating at when you started the cut, because of the fact that your body is going to overall burn less calories after the fact that you have lost some additional weight. Be sure not to overshoot your maintenance too much, because if you do so, it could ruin all the hard work you put into losing that weight in the first place. Now we're going to delve into the more detailed aspect of creating a diet plan, and that is going to be your macronutrient intake. Now, what do I mean by macronutrients? Well, it's going to come down to your protein, fat, and carbohydrate intake. These are the nutrients that fundamentally make up all of the food that you eat. Along with this are vitamins, minerals, and all the such known as micronutrients, which are just as important and you need to make sure you get in your diet. However, these are going to be the main focus when it comes down to contributing to your overall calorie intake and muscle building. In order to build muscle, you're going to have to consume a certain amount of protein to support the stimulus that you're creating in the gym for protein synthesis, which leads to muscle growth. Now, the reason protein is so important is because your body actually digests all the protein that you eat down into amino acids, which are then used to build muscle. It's recommended that you eat around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight every day, or at least this should be your goal to begin with. There is actually scientific evidence to support this. For example, 49 studies that were looked at in a meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that in 1,800 people that this range of protein intake was on average ideal for building muscle. This is why I highly suggest using a meal tracker app such as MyFitnessPal. It's literally the GOAT. It makes the whole process of logging your food intake and tracking your macronutrients much easier. Now, what you're going to want to do is determine the mass of protein you want to hit every day using your body weight. After that, accommodate approximately around 25, I would say, is a good number. 25% of your diet to fats in grams into your calories. Now, the remaining calories you have after calculating how many are going to be designated to protein and fats to your carbohydrates. It's important to make sure that this portion of carbs isn't neglected, even though it's the filling the remaining portion of your diet. They're going to be just as important in terms of your obtaining your goals in the gym. Now, carbs are actually stored in your liver and muscles when they're digested, as a result of your insulin spiking, causing it to be converted to glycogen and stored in these places. Now, what glycogen does is it actually functions to help your body produce as much ATP, which is an energy system in your body, as possible. So this is why carbohydrates are really important in terms of fueling your workouts, as it'll help you put in as much effort as possible. Notice also how all of the macronutrients are usually measured in grams. Therefore, it's a lot easier to track them if you use a food scale as opposed to measuring by volume. Not to say it's impossible, but it is much easier. Working by volume still works because apps such as MyFitnessPal also have an option to measure the volume for you. So, for example, tying it all together, creating a diet plan, you might end up with a ratio of 35% protein, 40% carbohydrates, and 25% fats. Now, this you can select in the MyFitnessPal app, and I'll have a picture of it up on screen for me personally. And all you do is you simply enter in the percentages, you enter in your calorie goal, and MyFitnessPal will automatically tell you the grams of each macronutrients that you should be trying to hit throughout the day. Now, this example diet plan leans more towards a protein favored type approach, where it is more heavy on the quantity of protein as opposed to the other macronutrients. So this is clearly more geared towards building the most muscle possible. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and can take this information to form a solid diet plan that will definitely play a big factor in those gains to come in the gym. As always, make sure you like and comment. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Subscribe, click the bell for notifications in order to be aware of whenever I make a new post. And thank you very much for watching. I will catch you all in the next one. Peace. Baby.